Innovation Center to the upcoming nursing complex. Each building is a masterpiece of modern design. At Meru University, state-of-the-art buildings are dynamic hubs for learning and discovery. Lecture rooms and labs.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning. Welcome to Meru University of Science and to begin with a word of prayer.
Good morning. Let's stand up and go ahead to our word of prayer. Let's pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come to you for the Lord this morning. We pray that you forgive us for our sins, so there's none like you. As we are going to start this discussion forum for the Lord, be with us, for there's none like you. Guide us and strengthen us, and give us in a big greater and believe.
Thank you so much, Paris. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this forum. This is Meru University, a serene environment for academic excellence. So today we are having the Responsible Computing Discussion Forum, and I would just like to begin with where this journey started. It began last year in May. So it's going all the way up to 2024 May. So that's 1 year. And last year, Meru University hit the headlines when it was among the 8 universities that won the $25,000 grant from the Mozilla. And you know, Mozilla announced that Kenya and India will be the first countries to benefit from these grants. So a round of applause to Meru University. Now, that journey began with 3 great people at Meru University. That is Dr. Mary Madulo, Dr. Chege, and Dr. Anthony. So they were at the center of all this. And this journey has begun all the way from the classrooms to the workshops and finally to the discussion forum today. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you today, let's all benefit and be responsible people. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give a remark that the session today is going to be lively, and the participants in the panel are just at the back. They include members from various universities in Kenya, including Meru University, Chuka University, Karatina University, Murang'a University. Then there is the NIRU, that is the National Intelligence Research University College. We have Kenya University and Karakanipi University. A round of applause for having the representatives. Thank you. From the different faculties, that is
When this panel was
formed. And the panel is formed by administrators.
Include those from the ICC department, the online distance education
Learning, that's the hotel, and also includes students, and finally the alumni. So this is going to be a lively event. I would like to
begin by introducing the principal investigator, that is Dr. Mary Madulo, to give a brief history of where it began before we proceed. Karibu.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Okay, so I take great pleasure in having this discussion forum. It's an event that we've been waiting for quite some time. And I'm here just to give a brief introduction what we are doing or what this discussion is all about. Now, Mozilla is really into responsible computing. So to Mozilla, responsible computing is not just a concept. Responsible computing is about practice. It's about what we do. And as tech people in IT or in IT profession, we have a responsibility to go beyond just creating a program that is running or just developing algorithms that are working. we have a responsibility to be able to develop codes and algorithms that are ethically right. In most of our institutions, we churn students or graduates who are very good technically. The aspect that we've not really indulged into is the aspect of how ethical are these students prepared. And this is a discussion forum that we are going to have today. We want to see and share experiences and skills and knowledge that we have from the various universities on how do we practice responsible computing. Responsible computing begins right from the class, and as mentioned earlier, we began in the classroom. We began with a group of students taking Bachelor of Science in Computer Security and Forensic. So we began by inculcating this responsible computing principle through a group, a research methodology and group project. They have a unit in their third year. So that's where we began. And as we walk through with them in the journey of how you come up with the project, how you manage teams, we were able to inculcate this principle. We went further and started going to workshops and seminars, and we've had quite a number of them. And now we are out. We are going beyond the walls of Meru University. We want to share this knowledge with institutions out there. Responsible computing, I've said, it's not just a concept, it is a practice. It begins with right from class where we do plagiarism, where students develop codes that are sustainable. Like if I come up with a tool, am I thinking of after the tool becomes obsolete, what is supposed to be done about that? We are thinking beyond of if I am having a social media platform, the information that we share, that we post, is it authentic? Is it true? Or we just post information and information is just spreading, we are spreading rumors. So responsible computing starts with us. And that is the theme of our entire project, that responsible computing should begin with me as a student, it should begin with me as a faculty, it should begin with me as an administrator, so that we have a world or a society whereby we are all responsible. We are all behaving in a responsible manner. So I want to welcome you to this discussion forum. I know we have a number of participants who are participating virtually, so I welcome you to give your comments, give your suggestion, and also ask questions. Let it be an engaging forum. So at this point, I want to welcome the panelists for today. We have a very vast and good panel drawn from different universities and also drawn from people from different levels, faculty, students, alumni, and the administrator. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome the administrators, the moderators, sorry, to take us through the process. Otherwise, welcome so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the morning session, which is the Ethics in Computing Education and Career Development, which essentially aims at cultivating a sense of responsibility, empathy, and moral practices among students as they navigate through their school life and even life after school. So I didn't introduce myself. I'm Geoffrey Rastas, Meru University student, chairman of innovation, and also a software engineer. So now we head to the panelists. We have to engage with you guys and tell us more. So you guys might have your thoughts, but we'll give you a chance to share thoughts. Anyway, I was introducing the theme. Let me pass it over to the other moderator to ask the questions.
Good morning. My name is Mariam Bilal, a student at Chuka University. I'm a software engineer, so we are here for our today's theme. That's ethics in computing, education, and career development. So I'll just pass the mic to our panelists to introduce themselves briefly. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Mwangi, a student at Karatina University. I am a software developer who is also into machine learning. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Faith Jekosgei, a student, Kenya Methodist University, computer science student majoring in database administration.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charles Karinga from NIRUK. Currently conducting my master's program. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I'm Oridi Njoroge, faculty from the Raka University in the field of computing, mostly machine learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the brief introduction. Now, we'll start with the questions, right? So, posing a question to the faculty of Tharaka, Mr. Alexander. Could you please tell us, in your experience, how do you teach students to approach ethical decision-making in computing, especially when faced with complex dilemmas?
Thank you for the question. Maybe from the first people who have introduced the whole field about responsible computing, we need first to understand what it means by being responsible. Most of the time when you talk about being responsible, it means having a certain obligation toward something. So like in this case, when we come to computing, the question is, do we have that responsibility or obligations toward how we are practicing in the field of ICT? On the other side, when we talk about computing, mostly this revolves around using the tools which work in ICT. So the question is, how do we approach it, or?
Yeah, how will you approach, like, how do you teach the students to approach the ethical decision-making in computing, especially when faced with complex dilemmas?
Okay. In this case, you can use different methods. Number one, you can use maybe discussions where during the class you are able to engage students in an open discussion, and you are able to introduce the whole thing about ethics. You can also maybe use issues like case study. This is where you are able to give a student like case study. Like in this case, if I take a scenario, like a student is supposed to come up with, let's say, an app using maybe, let's say, IoT. Like in this case, if I look at my watch over here, I want to be able to collect data regarding maybe the number of steps I'm taking, maybe my heartbeats, and so on. If I'm collecting this kind of data, the question is, how should I be able to handle that data? And you're able to help students by use of a case study to understand on the concept. Of course, we have other means. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Charles, as a student, how do you believe ethics should be integrated into the computing curriculum to ensure that students are well prepared for ethical challenges in their lives?
Thank you for that question. I believe that it is very essential that ethics is inculcated in the work that they conduct, especially in classes. This will enable them to understand and appreciate what is their responsibility, as the other panelists have said, towards the society, towards the community, and even as they are prepared, as they are making those particular applications, they are going to be that considerate, yeah, of all those broad parameters that the application or as they make those applications, they will be aware of the impact it has on the community and even the society. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Alex, question is, are there ethical considerations that are often overlooked or underestimated in computing education, and how can universities address these gaps in awareness?
All right. Yes, they are there. In particular, I'll just talk about one, which I find very interesting. Most of those people who are in software development, engineering, and those other related fields focus on the how and not the why. So algorithmic explainability is one of those things that I think have been overlooked. There's this thing that has been going around. I don't know if you've seen it. You've heard it say that if it works, don't touch it. So this is one of the mistakes that we make. I think when you are when you are writing an algorithm or coming up with a code, let it be clean and have an understanding of why are you doing this, why are you using this method, why are you structuring your code in this way. And in the long run, we are going to make improvements on that area which seems to have been ignored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Such a nice insight.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Faith. So how can you share your personal experience where your ethical education played a role in a computing project?
Okay, thank you for the question. Ethics help us to be responsible and get to understand and be able to practice the general theme is about ethics, and ethics is whereby it helps us to be accountable, transparent, practice integrity in what we do in computing. So personally, in my experience in project, is whereby, for example, when developing, let me say, mobile application, there is data privacy where the user can be, like, the information about the user, the information about the user can be private and well secured, and also data security whereby the system cannot be interfered by unauthorized users. So it helps to the information about the user or anyone who can use the system or the application or anything, their information is secure, that it cannot be accessed by anybody who is not authorized to use the system. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So back to you, Mr. Njoroge. You're a very smart man. I appreciate you because you answered my next question already, but I still have a question for you. Are there specific courses or modules that emphasize ethical considerations, and how do they impact students' perspective on responsible computing?
Thank you. Yes, we have specific, let me just call them units. Like in this case, I have an example of what we call professional computing ethics. Though you can also, let's maybe talk about emerging technologies where you can talk about aspect of ethics. But we also have other areas like, let's say, artificial intelligence or machine learning, where you can also talk about ethics. But the main unit which talks about ethics is the one which I've mentioned about professional ethics. And you find in this unit, you are able to introduce the holistic way on how you are able to kind of, what can I say, navigate all around the other areas. One thing you need to understand is that in our field of computing, it revolves around data. Actually, you all say we have data on one side, you do all that thing, and then you have information on the other side. So anytime you talk about data, you need to be careful on how do you handle that data, or how do you become responsible when dealing with that data. So this unit about professional computing ethics, it's able to teach, or it's able to help a student or maybe the members understand on how you're able to handle the data in a better way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. The question goes to Charles, Faith, and Alex. Sorry. How can students actively contribute to creating a culture of ethical decision making within the department?
Okay, thank you for that question. One way students can contribute to this is to have student-led initiatives. This can be through forums where they engage in discussions about ethical dilemmas. They can also engage industry experts who can actually come and give them life experiences, and create awareness amongst them on the ethical issues out there and how they navigate them, so that they're able to be prepared for the job market.
Where the question was, how can a student contribute to creating culture of ethical decisions in the department? I can say the students can advocate for curriculum change, whereby they can be given new courses where they can be taught about ethics, how to implement them, and also the students can lead as an example, whereby they can do more research about ethics, implement them in their real life, whereby in their projects or their coursework, they can use the ethical, they can implement the ethics in computing for them to bring the ethical into the real scenarios in whatever they are doing, be it classwork, project, or interacting with their fellows. Yeah.
My take on this is very simple. Students can just champion open discussions and also do research or delve into those areas that they feel need of being more equipped. And finally, the third thing is they can try and find a way of interacting with those who are in the industry so that they can be able to get first-hand information or learn of the experience that those who are already doing it are having. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insight. So another question posed to Faith. In your institution, are there students-led initiatives or organizations focused on promoting ethics within the computing community?
Thanks for your question. Yeah, in our institution, we have initiatives or organizations such as innovators clubs where they conduct workshops where students can go get the institution invites professionals where they come teach students on different fields in computing, how to conduct themselves in the computing world, and also how to implement whatever we learn from it. We also have peer counseling where we as students can interact, create awareness about the computing, and also implement what we learn in the real life through discussions and case studies. Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it. So just to extend the question to you still, since it's a student-led initiative, you mean that your students are the ones who are running everything. For instance, you're having an innovation hub, right? Led by students, they have communities that are guided or partnered with other organizations, maybe Google, the GDSE program, the MLSA program. Do you have or rather do you hold sessions or events or boot camps that are just emphasizing on these ethics?
Okay, I can say we participate in, let me say, boot camps. For example, the mobile development and AI boot camps, where we're being taught about the principles of ethics are examples like data privacy, data security, accountability, transparency. So through that bootcamp that we're being thought about, mobile application, AI, whatever's, we get to learn about how to make sure that the information that is in that system, the AI or the mobile application you've been creating, the information of the user is secure, the data is private, that it cannot be accessed by the unauthorized users. And also you being accountable in whatever you do in that system. The consequences are up to you in whatever you do. Yeah, that's what it is.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Alexandra, at a departmental level, are there any opportunities for students to engage in ethical discussions or practical discussions?
Yes, we have cases where students are able to participate in practical situations or even a case study. Sometimes we even have what you call you just organize an event whereby you are able to kind of share more insight on why students need to be accountable when it comes to the issues on data. But mostly, let's say in a kind of a class setup, mostly we use the case studies and the practicals. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see who's next. Faith. Or am I being biased? Let me go to Charles, Mr. Charles. How has the emphasis on ethics in computing education influenced your approach to ethical decision making in your academic and professional endeavors?
Okay. The ethical discussions have enlightened, they have brought an awareness on the ethical aspects that you need to consider while conducting yourself in the computing environment. It has also given me an opportunity, or us as students, an opportunity to be able to appreciate other disciplines and be able to appreciate that the systems that we come up with, they have an impact, yeah? And what is that impact? And what's the effect of that impact in the society? It has also brought some awareness on the issues of sustainable, yeah, development when it comes to computing, being able to come up with the systems that are systems that are green, yeah, and those are perspectives in the technical perspective, which generally nobody considers. You're focused on the technical aspect of it, but then when you have that broad perspective, it gives you that wide approach on ethics in computing.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alex, as a student, how do you believe ethics should be integrated in your curriculum to ensure that students are well prepared for the ethical experiences?
Most programs in computer science and related departments don't really have a dedicated ethics course into it until later stages, say when you are moving towards completing your course. For example, you'll find that most of the students who get to take this course in ethics, they take it in maybe 4th year. So what can be done is weaving the course into the whole, instead of just focusing it on the senior students, it can just be weaved into the curriculum in such a way that from the word go, you get to understand and you get to practice and implement what you have learned, so that you can be able to counter those challenges properly. You'll find that most young developers, have the potential to contribute a lot to technology growth and various startups. So when they are doing this at an early age or in their halcyon days of university, they might end up making decisions not aware of the long-term impact. So if it can just be a continuous process of learning, I think it would come in handy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Njoroge, how is the concept of ethics currently integrated into the computing curriculum in your institution, and what strategies as a department have you employed to make it relevant to real-world scenarios?
Thank you. As I mentioned a bit earlier, we have specific units which are customized to make sure that ethics is captured during the training of the students. And like I said, we have what we call professional computing ethics. It's quite an interactive unit whereby you are able to kind of cover different areas when it comes to being responsible. But also on a bigger note, like in this case, we usually say computing basically does not have a problem of its own, but rather we try to solve issues on other fields, like let's say maybe in medicine, in business, or in different fields. Like in this case, if I'm coming up with a system in hospitality, and maybe I'm using, like, let's say, machine learning, there is a way we have incorporated it in the training, such that you are able to assist the student understand that whatever data you collect, whatever data you use, whatever data you use in training your model and in whatever you're doing, you need to consider the ethical issues. Actually, even in postgraduate studies, you find that you cannot undertake more research without maybe undergoing through what we call ethic committees. Actually, not just within the RACA, but most of the institutions, they have that ethic committees, which is able to review whether you have been able to capture the ethical bit in your research or in your project. Most so, maybe what need to be added is on the undergraduate, because for the postgraduate, it's well captured, the ethical bit, but for the undergraduate, where we have so many projects, even if the bit of ethics is there, it's not that well, maybe, can I say evaluated, or maybe considered? Yes, but it's there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Still extending a question on that. You mentioned something about models, right? Training models. We understand we have a lot of open source models, so it's unethical. Okay, we understand it's a bit unethical, or rather GitHub, right? Students can be given a project. They can just go on GitHub, get the project, which is not ethical. So, and it's not wrong either, because they can use it as a learning model, right? So, a site like Kaggle has data sets. There's a part for the code. If given a student a task, maybe on model training and stuff, they go get the code, train the model, and then they give you the models. So, would you advocate for this? Is it ethical? Or from my thinking, I feel like if they can advance something on that code to assume originality of the work, it would be acceptable. But is it right to you? Do you think doing it like it's just a copy-paste of work, whether learned or not, is it really ethical? What's your take on that?
Quite an interesting question. Is it ethical? Like if I go to GitHub, maybe get this kind of code, you need to kind of indicate that, like in this case, if that work was done by Charles over there, and he have maybe published his work on GitHub, I need to indicate that I was able to get part of his code, but also I need to show that I have not kind of picked everything, like let's say 100%. Of course, we have that limit, like let's say depending with different institutions, what kind of percentage are you supposed to pick? But once you pick, you need to cite that I've picked that work, and then you also show what have you improved on. Because you find that we usually say you cannot go to create a system from scratch. Like if there is a model which is already on GitHub, why do I need to go and create a new model if there is already an existing solution? It's better I just go and use what is there. But sometimes you find we need to improve on what is there. So once you improve, first get what is there, but kindly just indicate that you have picked that work from person A or maybe site A, and then you improve on it. Thank you.
So still on you. You said about improving the work. Now I have the model, I've modified it. Will it still be assumed as someone else's work? Maybe he just did the training part, I did the validation, I did the integration to maybe another application, and now I call it my work. Is it really ethical?
Yes, it's ethical as long as you're able to indicate that you have copied part of the work. Like in this case, let me pick an example. There is a lady, pardon, she just mentioned about a mobile app. In this case, I can just go and pick the mobile app which she have, and I find that maybe the interface is not as good as I like it to be. So I can just go improve on the interface, but I'm going to indicate part of the work was done by her, but of course I'm going to maybe say there is a bit which I think she never did it well, and then I improve on it. But the key thing is is it to acknowledge? I think the best word is to acknowledge that part of the work was done by person A, B, C, D. Thank you. I don't know whether your question is well responded to.
Thank you very much.
The question goes to Mr. Charles, Madam Faith, and Alex. What are the ethical considerations that you believe should be emphasized in computing education, and why?
I want to believe what I consider most important is privacy, as once I have created a software or I have a product that I've developed, and if at a certain point my program, or as she said, my mobile app collects user data, you have trusted me with your data and information, and mostly it will be private information, talk of maybe ID number, phone number, email, and other details. So privacy is really key. Reason being, you have trusted me with your information, and it is up to me to ensure that it is safeguarded.
For me, I can say integrity. For example, if I'm developing a mobile application, and as my colleague has said, that I went to Git, found a code that has been done by somebody else, then I pick the code and maybe implement something new in the application or change the interface or something. I should acknowledge that the work was done by this person, but I improved something else. Or maybe if there is a system that is existing and then I tried to modify it to something else, you should acknowledge that this work was previously done by this person, and then what part did you participate in, then you indicate whatever you did. I can say the integrity part.
Okay, one of the issues I feel is very key is consent. What we call the informed consent from the users. They need to understand, they need to give you consent to collect their data, and also you need to be transparent enough to be able to tell them as to why and what you're going to do with that data, and what other initiatives that data is going to be used on.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Charles, still on you. Can you share a personal experience where your ethical education played a role in computing, in a computing project or maybe internship or any field of work?
Okay, from a personal experience, there was a project which required some analysis using a particular software. So the software license was expensive to acquire. And of course, I asked around, and there was a person who had a cracked version. Well, I decided to take the moral high ground and and bought the license. Yep.
Okay, we're going to pause on the questions. I would like to invite our host, Mr. Maxwell Mudaki. Welcome.
Thank you so much, everybody, for the good participation that is ongoing. And to our online audience, we are on slido.com. Keep following the conversation, or rather the event on slido.com. SLIDO.com. That is slido.com. So you're using the code 3672662. Remember, it's slido.com. And the code is 3672662. That is the place that you're going to share with us where you're from, and if you have any question or any comment to give, kindly channel it over there. Remember, we're live on our YouTube channel, Meru University, and keep following the live stream and keep sharing so that we can have a greater audience reach. Thanks. Back to you.
Thank you so much. So, a question goes to Mr. Alex. As a student, what action points will you take after this discussion forum?
So, as a student, I'm going to do two things. Number one, consolidate my understanding. And secondly, further and initiate discussions where they have been done concerning the topic at hand.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. So, Mr. Njoroge, final question to you. When you go back to your institution, how will you ensure that the conversation around responsible computing continues beyond this discussion forum?
Thank you for the question. Most of the time we usually do the curriculum review, but sometimes changing the curriculum can be kind of a bit tasking. But as we are reviewing the curriculum mostly to comply with the CBC, it's a high time to now incorporate a bit on ethics when we are reviewing the curriculum. But number two, maybe without even reviewing the curriculum, we can have what we call open discussions in class where you are able to touch on the responsible computing, even when you are maybe taking your classes, when you are having group discussions, when you are having different kind of forums. Also, I plan to maybe use the social media channels. In this case, within the university, we have social media channels, and is to kind of maybe now create more awareness to our students, to our faculty, on how to maybe actually to use responsible computing. So, in summary, I think social media discussions in class and curriculum review is one of the things I'll be looking at once I go back to the institution. Thank you.
Okay. Our last question to Mr. Charles and Mr. Alex. What's your personal experience where your ethical education played a role in computing education?
Since I understood matters ethics, I've been thinking twice on the impact that what I'm doing is having on, let's say, the environment and other people, that is users of what I'm developing. And secondly, it has gotten me thinking on what can be done about those people, because if I'm writing good code, somebody else is writing good code, but there's another group of people which is unaware of what is supposed to be done, it got me thinking, what can be done to create awareness or to maybe better our community? Because in tech, our community is everything. That's a question that has been on my mind, and I've since been able to come up with a possible solution. And one of them is something that we have already started doing, which is finding relevant events. As students, we really get encouraged and get an opportunity to learn by attending various events and even hosting some in our institution where we get to interact with people from the real world, people who are doing development out there, and with the experience of what is happening. Yeah. Thank you.
I shared my one experience, so maybe I can share another one. One of the other experience I've had where the ethics came into play is during the acquisition of some softwares within an organization I interned on. And one of the issues that was being overlooked was involving other stakeholders and other users within the institution while in the process of acquiring the platform. So one of the things that I advocated for vehemently is everyone be involved so that they can give their views, as this was an off-the-shelf kind of system which required customization, and so bringing them to board it was going to include them in the process of the implementation of the software.
Thank you so much. We're done with our first part of the session, so I'll welcome Mr. Maxwell to introduce us to the second part.
Thank you so much for that insightful discussion that has been happening. Remember, we are at Meru University of Science and Technology, a foundation of innovation. And to our online audience, we're live on YouTube on Meru University. Keep channeling in your comments, like, share, so that we can get lots of engagements and lots of opportunities. Also, we are on slido.com. For the online audience, remember it's slido.com. And the code is 3672662. Remember, slido.com. And the code to join or share your comment on that poll is 3672662. As we are moving on, I would like to introduce Dr. Mary Madulo to give a way forward.
Thank you so much for that engaging session. It was wonderful. We've learned from different universities, the experiences that they have. I want us now to move to the next session. The next session is open discussion, that if you have a question, this is your time to ask. We'll also be picking questions from our online audience, so you can also log in and ask your question on that platform. At this particular point, I'm going to ask the moderator to take us through the session on open discussion. Thank you.
All right, so it's an open discussion, and I'd like to welcome you all to that with just a short phrase. That as we go on with the forum, as we go on doing our computing endeavors, right? You must understand that ethical computing is not just about what we can create, but also what we should create, considering the well-being of society and individuals at large, because as software developers, that's what we want to do, create solutions to help people live better, make life easier for them. So you're all welcome to the open forum. Thank you. So any contributions, if you feel you have something to share, you have an opportunity to share with us, just to enlighten the society at large, watching back from home online, and those who are here. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ebenezer from Meru University. I have a question. You have talked about ethical review, right? My concern is about when developing developing softwares, do developers consider the fact that what if my technology becomes obsolete? What will happen to data protection and my data privacy? Because at the end of the day, there are so many changes occurring, and you find we are from this technology to another. So what are some of the things our developers are considering when it comes to obsolete of the technology or the software they developed? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I believe Mr. Njoroge, you will equip the knowledge too.
Thank you for the question. Actually, the main thing is on when it comes absolute, and my assumption is that the software have some kind of data, and this data need to be protected. So there are different ways actually. At the moment we have policies which are guiding on that. Actually, based on the latest review, there is a recommendation, like in this case for public institutions, in case you're using certain software, in case you're using certain kind of hardset, once they become obsolete, they have come up with a criteria or maybe a way on how you're supposed to dispose or maybe do away with that hardware or software. And mostly it revolves around protecting the data, or first is backing up the data and maybe doing away with the software or the hardware. Thank you.
I believe your question is answered.
My question goes to the panelists. Good morning. Just to ask, how do you ensure inclusivity in whatever we are doing, in the projects that we are making? How do we ensure that we have encouraged inclusivity, that is to engage people in the project?
Okay. Your question is how can we include others in the projects we're doing?
No, to ensure inclusivity.
I can say, for example, if it's a project you're doing, you can, let me say, conduct a open discussion, or maybe a case study where you can be able to practice or implement the ethics to implement ethics in a real scenario. Or, yeah, I can say open discussions and case studies.
Yeah, just to add on that, one of the things that can happen is to leverage on technology. Technology and access to the internet, for example, it has grown over time. So if you leverage on technology to reach even to the person who maybe cannot be able to come maybe for the open discussion, as we are doing right now, we are streaming live, right? It will ensure that you include them in the discussion, and even they can bring out the issues that they may feel, even the marginalized, they can feel that, they can input in that particular project.
Just to maybe kind of wind up, I think awareness is simple to do that. And in this case, when I talk about awareness, you can use different platforms. You can either, let's say, use social media, like if I'm talking about Meru University, I can use the various social media handles to be able to have inclusivity. We can also do it if you're in class, you can do it via a discussion, maybe outside, maybe to the different kind of people who are working. You can use some ways like, let's say, LinkedIn to be able to create awareness on that. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you very much. So,
thank you. My name is Dorrington from Meru. My questions goes to Mr. Njoroge. There was this question on using existing solutions or existing modules that are already in existence to come up with an application, or even if it's a school project. So my question is, when you're using online community forums, let's say for Python, you're using like Skyline, they already have existing codes that are there that you can use now to enrich your application or something like that. So how do you cite something like that? And do you put like the acknowledgements in your comments, or how will you use, will you acknowledge something like that? So in the case of, for example, GitHub, if I haven't licensed my publishing is in GitHub, is it unethical for someone else to be using it? Then the last question that, it's a question stroke observation. When we come to ethics in computing, we talk of data privacy, all those, but there's one thing that we usually overlook, or it's like a gap, intellectual property. As developers, do we patent our software after developing, even if it's for school project? And if not, how do we go about that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And if I try to break the first one, like in this case, I go to GitHub and I get some code. The question is, how do I cite it? Or maybe if I go to a site like, let's say, Kaggle, and I find there is some models, there is some codes which are there, how do I cite them? One of the most important things you are going to find is that those codes, they usually have associated papers with them. Actually, you're going to find there is a paper published behind that code. And maybe the question is whether the paper is peer reviewed, or maybe it's a predatory paper, whereby you find in most cases it's preferred when you use something which is a bit peer reviewed, because it simply means it complies with a certain guideline. So I go to GitHub, I get the code, I check the associated paper, and based from that paper, I'm able to cite it. Secondly, most of those codes, if you check at the bottom, you usually have the authors, and you can write directly to the author, and they can guide you on how you are able to cite on that specific code. Maybe you can repeat on the second question.
As a developer, how do I patent my work? This goes to the intellectual property bit.
So what is happening at the moment, most of the institutions, they are coming up with like, let's say if I just start with the publications, or maybe the projects, the student projects are being published on within the institutions. What can I say? Is it repository or journals? Institutions are coming up with the individual journals whereby you are able to publish your work. And also within the university, institutions are coming up with is it committees, or maybe departments, or maybe a way on how they are able to help members within the institution to be able to go about with what can I say? The copyright. Actually, like in this case, within the Raqqa University, we already have a procedure or a policy which is guiding on how you are able to do that. Thank you.
Okay, I have two questions about having having a code from GitHub. Do you consider copyright issues, or if you get a model from Kaggle, maybe, do you consider copyright issues, or maybe you publish on live, then you be sued by a company owned owned by the code so that you be sued because of copyrights? The second thing is, as we are in the era of AI, do the codes generated by the AI adhere to ethical issues? Yeah.
Perhaps you can have one of our panelists giving us a response.
Just to respond on the first, on issues to do with copyright issues. Platforms such as GitHub, once somebody raises a question, an issue that you have copyrighted their work, your code is going to be, and they verify and they conduct the investigations, yours is going to be dropped, and the person who owns the property, almost like the intellectual property, or the person who published first, is given preference. So, and on the other issue to do with whether in this era of AI, whether it adheres to ethical issues, I think if you write maybe anything on ChatGPT, it usually tells you, first of all, it's not a human being. However, there are some ethical guidelines that it follows. Yeah. So whether now taking the code from there and you saying it's yours, now that's where the issue of ethical dilemma comes in. But if you can actually be able to be ethically upright, you should be able to acknowledge that part of your work was derived from ChatGPT or an AI platform.
So good morning, I'm Newton. So my question is about data privacy. You talked about data privacy. And so my question is, when you look at some of the software languages that we are currently using, maybe hybrid languages, so taking for example like Flutter in mobile apps, we do import a lot of libraries for you to actually access exciting features that you don't have to create from the scratch. So is it advisable, or what is your point of view on that, in that these libraries that we export externally maybe contain malicious software that may compromise data privacy? So what is your word on that, based on that you don't have to create all these libraries from the scratch? So what do you say on that?
Okay. Yes, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I would encourage you to use those libraries. You see, when you are on the clock and maybe you have a tight deadline, you won't have enough time to really come up with something that you have in mind, but you can be able to work with something that's already there, then add value to it, or maybe tweak it to fit your liking. So on the issue of whether it may contain malicious code, I would say be careful, number one. Secondly, read and understand your code. It's very unlikely that you are going to import an often used library and find that it contains malicious code, because if you're using Flutter, you'll find very many people are using the same thing and maybe importing the same library, so it's very unlikely that you'll find libraries containing malicious code. But read and understand your code, and also I think if you are in development and you get to, say, an intermediate level, you'll be able to identify something that, do I call it weird? Something fishy or something funny in a piece of code. If, for example, you find a script, then you don't really know the use of the script or its relevance. Find out, research, but don't reinvent the wheel.
Morning. I'm Shadrach, and my question goes to Charles. So, we as programmers and developers, we come up with applications and systems of which the main goal is to ensure that there's data privacy. Yeah, the user's data are secured accordingly. So, my question is, how can we achieve secure coding rather than coming up with susceptible codes and programs that are vulnerable to unauthorized users?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So you're asking how you can come up with such codes. One of the, and that's why we're having now this discussion, one of the key things that you first need to understand is the ethical aspect of it. Once you understand that you need to protect certain data, you're going to put in measures, for example, to ensure that data is not accessible. For example, if you are putting in a PIN, most likely even if you put in a PIN, maybe a PIN for an app, once you input the number or the digit or the letter, it usually obscures that, yeah? Or it encrypts it. So once you know what data, first of all, you're not, you're not supposed to, share, or you should protect further, yeah? That's when you put in now those measures. But first of all, it comes with now the awareness. What is this data, first of all, I'm going to be using? What is it that I'm going to be using it? What is the environment this data is going to be subjected in? And so now you put in the safeguards around that data to ensure it is not exposed. I hope I've answered your question.
Sure.
Good morning. My name is Minor Edward, a third-year student. As we were going through responsible computing, I came to understand that you need to uphold responsible computing principles like inclusivity in this way that, for instance, you can include even the aged and those who are illiterate. You can develop a software that can use voice recognition and translate maybe a young woman, not a young, an old lady talk with her mother tongue, then he may be able to apply or to use your software in any way that he needs to do. Then another thing, inclusivity. While developing the codes, you need to create an appealing interface because there are some people who are visually impaired, and maybe you can implement, like, there are brailles in your while developing the code.
Okay, good morning. I'm Duskama from Kemu. So since I came, I've heard you people talk a lot. Okay, thank you. So my question is, you've really talked about ethics. I'm asking, what can you do in a situation whereby you are collecting a data to analyze, maybe to come up with something? So in the process of collecting this data, no one is willing to respond to your questionnaire. What do you do that is ethically correct, right, so that you don't interfere with their side or their view about the data set that you are collecting? So what is ethically right for you as the person collecting this data?
Thank you. Maybe if I take a scenario of a hospital setup, I want to do a certain research in maybe regarding in a certain area in medical field, and based on that, I need to get some data regarding patients. I'm hoping that's the approach you're looking at, and I can't be given this data. Sorry for that. So as I was saying, maybe I want to get some information from, let's say, Meru Hospital regarding maybe a certain area or field I want to undertake research on. And I, as a student, if I go to get the data directly, I'm not given that data. What usually happens in most cases, like for our computing field, mostly we use what we call secondary data, but where you need to use maybe primary data, mostly maybe for validation, there is a procedure on how you are able to maybe go via the institutions. Like in this case, you might write a request via your department or maybe a certain department within your institution. And then from department level, don't worry, it's about technology, and that's why we always fix issues on technology. So I was saying, you can write via your institution, like in this case, I want to get data from Meru Hospital, and I'm a student from Meru University. I can write a request through the department or maybe a certain department within the university, and through that, we are able to make a formal request for that data within Meru Hospital. Of course, when you are being given that data, there are certain guidelines or rules regarding ethics which you are supposed to adhere to, mostly regarding privacy. I don't know whether your question is answered.
Yeah, it's partly answered. Thank you for your response, but I'm asking, now you are at the hospital, and maybe the patient, or let me say a school, and the students you are trying to get the information from, they are not willing to respond. What do you do?
Okay, I don't know if what I'm answering will satisfy your question, but I can say, for example, if you want information from an institution or maybe a company, a hospital or wherever, then you went to the place and you are not given the data you are going to look for, or maybe the information you wanted from the company, yeah? I can say, for example, you can let me use KEMU. If you want information from a certain in a certain company, and then like the company are not willing to give you the information, you can maybe talk to the department. They give you a recommendation letter that indeed the students need the data from that company or institution to use it maybe to develop a project he or she is working on or something else. The recommendation will be from school, which is like, it's from an official place. So if you take that recommendation letter from the department to the company, they will be willing to give you the information, because it's not that you as an individual, you're looking for the information, but it's something that even the school or the department knows that the data you want will help you in your project or anything that you are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on that, you first need to understand why they are not willing to participate on the same. And of course, now you understand why, because at the end of the day, it's still voluntary. They can decide not to share. So once you understand why they're not willing to participate and the concerns that they raise, you can ask, first of all, assure them that they still need to give consent. You also need to appreciate the sensitivity of the data you are requesting from them. You also need to assure them, yeah, that this data is being used for this and that, and what privacy measures or what measures have you put into place to ensure that their data is safe. Also, you need to, it's all persuading. You're persuading them. You need to make them understand why you're collecting that data and how it's going to contribute in the betterment of life or in the, in adding in the body of knowledge. I hope that's enough.
Thank you very much. We're going to, unfortunately, lock out the questions from the crowd so that we can address the questions from the online community. So our first question, I'll pose it to Mr. Njoroge. How can you uphold responsible computing principles as a cybersecurity professional, given that you work with and on existing systems opposed to your own, as opposed to your own? Okay. How can you uphold responsible computing principles as a cybersecurity professional, given that you work with and on existing systems opposed to your own?
That revolves around the three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So just ensure that you meet those three key components. Thank you.
And the final question from Slido. This will go to Mr. Alex. Are the ethical issues brought by technology new or just an improvement of the old ethical issues? Are the ethical issues brought by technology new or just an improvement of the old ethical issues?
In response to that, there is both new and old. There are emerging issues that are coming from, take for instance, the rise of AI. Right now we have GPT, we have Gemini, we have Pi, and many others. They have come with newer issues. So yes, there are old and newer issues that are arising.
Thank you so much. The question goes to our panelists. How can Kenya develop an AI framework that fosters innovation while mitigating risks? How can Kenya develop an AI framework that fosters innovation while mitigating risks?
How can Kenya, or an AI framework? Okay, you know, AI is still broad. It's a broad, and looking at the various applications that emanate from it, there are other countries who have been able to come up with, you know, such frameworks. We have this called, we have frameworks that are being developed, even amongst the countries that are ethically, what we call, they're ethically sensitive, especially in Europe, and from there we can borrow, yeah. We can see what they are doing, yeah? And try to come up with our own frameworks, which are which align with the with our ethics as a country.
Thank you. Another question is it still ethical in today's world to use cracked codes and websites such as IDM from the internet?
One word, it's unethical, it's cracked. It's cracked, it's unethical.
All right, so thank you for engaging with us, online community and here. Now for our panelists, one word of advice to give people on the online and here, just to summarize the session.
So, thank you. The big agenda here is to make sure that all of us here become ambassadors. We are actually, right now, everybody, irrespective of whether you're in the computing field, all of us are using technology in one way or another. And the main task is to ensure that we become responsible, we become accountable, and we need to ask ourselves a question: what is the consequences of what I'm doing with a certain software tool? If it's on social media, if I try to pull a certain hashtag, what are the consequences of that? If we are developing curriculum, if we miss out on the ethical issues, what are the consequences of that? And even as we develop areas, like in this case, like data structures, programming, how can we be able to consider responsible computing in our codes and even in structures? Thank you.
Just to concur with what he says, I think we need to be ambassadors of ethical computing. It also will be very prudent if it is entrenched even in our coursework. We have an ethical consideration even in the works that we do, so that it is inculcated within us that we need to have that perspective as we are dealing with the computing challenges that come in the world. Thanks.
For me, I can say, I can use my scenario. For example, I'm a student. We have come here, or those who are participating online, you get to learn about ethics. When you go there, lead as an example. Implement whatever you've learned in anything you do, be it coursework, projects, or anything you do, you implement whatever you have learned. And also, I can say, for students, maybe in school you can liaise with your department to advocate the change of the curriculum, to have courses that they can teach about ethics. It should not that they should be measuring it when we are in our last year of studies, but from when you join first year, like you get to learn. When you are in that point of you want to go outside there and implement, at least you know more of the ethical and being responsible in the computing field. Yeah.
Today, there is need for not only organizations and the tech industry to address ethical issues, but also individuals. There are so many platforms and online free and paid courses that people out there can use to learn new technology and to learn how to go about things. but it becomes very essential to also integrate and in the process of learning how to do what you are doing and to maybe earn if you are a freelancer, to look at the long-term impact of what you are doing, what you are producing, and also look at the chances of maybe developing a model, then going back to unlearning, or we call it machine unlearning, because maybe you came up with an algorithm or a model that is biased. So let's take that into consideration. That's from me.
Thank you so much. That marks the end of our morning session on the theme on ethical computing and innovation and career development. Thank you so much for attending and also letting us have an engaging session. I'd like to welcome Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody is benefiting from this. Are you benefiting? Are you benefiting from this? And in the panel in the morning, we told you that we have various stakeholders, including the administrators. And just to wind up on this session, I would like to welcome the administrator, one of the administrators, that is the director, Odell, Madam Mary Assumpta Gasheri, to give some few remarks in an ethical point of view. A round of applause as she comes in. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to see very innovative minds seated here and committing on how to be ethical. So I stand here representing the administrative, and I like the insights that have been shared by our faculty and students, and I cannot emphasize less on what they have said. It is very important that we are ethical, and one of the panelists said that we are not the consumers of what we produce. Sometimes we produce for the industry, we produce for other areas that need our help as IT. So from the administrative point of view, we cannot emphasize less. For the students and the faculty in the IT field, because you're the ones who are responsible. These technologies, most of them are in your hands. So if it is biased, it is in your hands, right? If you give out something that is already biased, it means that it started with you. So if the ethics start with us, it means that we are solving the ethical issues of the world all over. Are we together on that? So we will encourage you and ask you, start with you, be ethical. Yeah, when you solve a problem for an organization that you don't work in, be ethical enough. So also, from the Directorate of Open Distance and E-Learning, you realize that remote learning is something that is so much being embraced in various institutions. And we cannot emphasize more, even as you learn through open distance. We notice that when you do your activities online, there are those temptations of not being ethical. Maybe you download something and upload there. Maybe you do your assignments as a community. You know all these things. You know, the institutions are going through so many or various measures to be able to cope with this. But you know, students sometimes are always smarter. Yeah? So make sure you embrace ethics even as you also embrace emerging technologies, and online learning is one of them. So thank you very much, and let us be the ambassadors of ethics. Let us be the people who are ethical first before we can preach it to someone else. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day.
Thank you so much, Madam, for the good comments that you've made to us. So, how was the first session? Was it fair enough for you? Really? All right, we are noted there. We're going on a short health break, and we'll be right back after this So the health break is 30 minutes. We'll be getting back to this venue at 11:15 for the second session. And as we're just going, a fun fact about Meru University. It is the first university in Kenya to receive the ISO 9001 to 2015 certification. I hope to see you in the next session. Vibrant insights as we move on.
The Meru University of Science and Technology is a world-class university. It is located in Tigania West constituency in Meru County, 15 kilometers northeast of Meru town, along the Meru-Makutano Maua Highway. Established with a charter on March 1, 2013, Meru University has been a pivotal force in advancing higher education and research. It has seen significant growth in curriculum, staff, student enrollment, infrastructure, and research collaborations, solidifying its position as a leading institution in academia and innovation. With a rapidly growing population, it has extended its reach by inaugurating a campus in Meru town, located at the Hart Towers, a learning center in Marimba, and a research institute in Mariene. In pursuit of our mission to provide quality university education, training and research in science, technology and innovation, the university has successfully implemented the quality management system and was the first in Kenya to be awarded the ISO 9001 to 2015 certification. Discover the architectural wonders of Meru University, where brilliance meets innovation. From the majestic engineering complex to the vibrant theaters, the Innovation Center to the upcoming nursing complex, each building is a masterpiece of modern design. At Meru University, state-of-the-art